All right. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for logging in, for joining us here today. I have to say good afternoon as well, because I'm not sure if we have persons that are joining us from, different time zones. So if you are, and it's afternoon where you are, well, good afternoon to you. Let me extend a warm welcome to CARICAD's July webinar. And we are certainly happy to have you here, whether you are joining us live or if you are listening to this as a replay of our recording. Let me introduce myself. My name is Dr. Miguel Christopher, and I am certainly excited to be your host today, filling in for my colleague and friend and the usual host, Dr. Lloyd Parks. Of course, assisting me as usual behind the scenes is our technician, Roger Silly. Roger Silly, he makes all of the magic happen. We just sit here and look nice, and he does all of the good stuff behind. So, Roger, thank you for, as usual, for your expertise and for being here today. Now, as one of my favorite TV show hosts, Steve Harvey, would say, we have a good one for you today. Right? The topic of this webinar, Beyond the Horizon, Everyday AI Strategies for Modern Educators. And we are most delighted to have as our guest presenter today, Dr. Shani Grace Robinson Ritzdorf. She's there, I can see her, and I'm sure you can see her as well, but we will introduce her formally a little bit later. But trust me, you are in the right place this morning. We are diving into the topic of artificial intelligence, and it's just something that we cannot avoid, right? AI is no longer that thing that we hear about that's somewhere in the future. AI is now, and it is everywhere. But there's no need for us to feel overwhelmed. Today, we are going to be bringing AI down to earth and making it work for us, right? Simple, practical, everyday strategies. Whether you are in academia, because our focus really today is on education, but whether you are in academia, in the field of learning, training, and development, like I am, or if you are an organizational leader, just concerned about the professional development of your staff, then you are exactly where you need to be. All right. I know that many of you here this morning, I can't see everybody, but I'm sure there are lots of you out there. I know many of you are loyal, repeat guests of CARICAD. So thank you so much for being here. So this information that we are going to share with you would be for you, just reinforcement. You know the drill. But to those of us that are new to our webinars, we want you to have a comfortable learning experience. So in order to do that, this will be the perfect time, as it says on your screen, to close off all the applications that you have, except Zoom, of course. Mute your cell phones and mute your office phones, because sometimes we remember to mute ourselves and then tinkling, our office phones are going off. So remember to mute those as well. Plug in your internet cable if that is going to give you a better connection. It's also better if you have a headset and a mic, especially if you want to participate in the discussion. Please have that available. And most of all, remind your colleagues that this is your time. This is your time for learning and development. So guess what? You are unavailable. Unless the whole place is burning down, you are unavailable. And even then, you don't have to worry about anything. We have you cook and curry, as we say in Trinidad, right here in this webinar. So you're not going to go anywhere, but we don't want your colleagues to be disturbing you. All right. Now, for this portion of the first portion of the webinar, for those of you that are familiar, your microphones will be muted. So anything that we ask you to share, we are inviting you to share your comments and your questions and so on in between in the chat, right? So make sure you can find the chat and you can share there. I will also, when you share your comments and your questions, then I will pass them on to our guest presenter today on your behalf. When the presentation is over, if you want to ask a question, if you want to make a comment, you are, of course, free to do so, but just raise your hand and our magician behind the scenes, Roger, will unmute you and you will be able to participate. All right, so I hope that's clear for everybody. Now, one of the fun things that we love to do here for our monthly webinars at CARICAD is that we are excited to know where you in the region and beyond you are joining us from. And particularly today, we not just where you are joining us from, but we are particularly interested in if you are an educator joining us today, because this session today is especially for the learning and development professionals, the educators out there. So please type in the chat where you are joining us from, and if you are representing an institution that is an educational institution, if you're from a regional institution, whatever it is, please don't be shy. We have no shy people in this room. We are all family here today. So tell us where you are joining us from. All right, let me see. Hi, Carla. I'm seeing Carla, Thomas Wilson. Let me see if I see anybody who's indicating where they are coming, telling us where they are from. Oh, Dr. Arlene Penn joining us from the Virgin Islands. Hi, Doc. Welcome, welcome. And from the land of my birth, Trinidad and Tobago, from the Public Service, Academy, Anera. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Thank you so much for joining us today. Let's see who else is there. We have Robert from BVI. We have Golda Palmer, who is in St. Kitts, and she is an educator. Oh, this looks like me, an educator who pivoted into learning and development, and she's representing her company, Gold AI. We are so happy to have you here. Oh, I am seeing a very familiar face. Anne-Marie Dewar. Hi, Anne-Marie from Montserrat. Yes, she's a teacher, lecturer, trainer, and facilitator. And what she didn't list on that is that she is the most fantastic singer. Oh my gosh, beautiful, beautiful voice. I've known Anne-Marie for many years. Thank you, Anne-Marie, for joining us. Yes, I'm seeing from BVI. Lots of persons joining us this morning from BVI, from Trinidad and Tobago. And I'm sure we will have other islands joining us. I am joining you this morning from Jamaica. Hi, Elizabeth. Sinclair. Yes, good to see you. And from Dominica, Julianne, thank you so much for joining us. I am joining you today from Antigua and Barbuda. I am Trinidadian by birth, but this is where I have made my home for the last many, many, many moons, right? So I'm supposed to be at part Antigua, but I consider myself a Caribbean person. So I'm joining you from there. Yes, I'm seeing Jennifer from Barbados. All right. So I'm particularly interested. Is there anybody joining us today for the first time? If you're joining us today for the first time, let us know. You know, we want to give you a nice, warm CARICAD first time welcome. Let me see if I see anybody. Yes, Julian, Elizabeth, yes, is joining us for the first time. Robert, yes, Alyssa Wickham is joining us for the first time. Thank you so, so much for joining us today. We welcome you, give you a big, warm CARICAD hug, all right? And I hope this will not be your last, right? I'm sure you're going to enjoy it, and I hope it would not be your last. I'm seeing Sandra, Rohe, could you sort Sandra out for me? Unless she's raising a hand to say today is her first time, Sandra. If you are, then certainly welcome, welcome to you. All right. So, just a little bit about, let's see, just a little bit about who we are, about CARICAD. Well, as you know, this series of webinars that we try to do every month is hosted by CARICAD. So especially if you are one of the first timers, do allow me to say a little bit about who we are. CARICAD is an acronym for the Caribbean Center for Development Administration. CARICAD has been in existence for a whole 45 years and counting, so more than a generation. We have been in existence and still going strong. And what we do is support our regional member states, that is member states of CARICOM, in the area of public sector transformation. So what you see listed here on your screen are some of the technical support services that we provide, in CARICAD. We offer consulting services, research, policy development. There are several leadership development programs that CARICAD does, not generic ones, but ones that are tailored to your specific needs as Caribbean public sectors. And I can assure you that every service that you see listed here on the screen has a stamp of excellence on it. I can assure you of that, right? CARICAD has a wonderful team of associate consultants that provide signature world-class standard support every day, all day, no matter what the size of the assignment, right? So don't be afraid to call on CARICAD if your government department, your institution needs that little support and that little help. And part of the reason why there is excellence, our excellence in CARICAD is consistent, is because we stand by, and all of our work is governed by our Caribbean Public Service Charter. And that's what you're seeing on your screen right now. This charter was developed by CARICAD, and it is a framework. That's what it is. It's a framework that we use to guide our entire approach to public sector transformation. This charter, it's available to all of our member states and their institutions. And of course, we encourage everybody to adopt it, to apply it, and use it as a way of creating and sustaining that culture of excellence that we want to see across our region, right? I'm not going to go into all of the details associated with the charter, but as you can see, our foundation is a citizen-oriented public service, and that entire charter structure is held together by those 6 pillars that you see there: governance, standards, capacity, accountability, openness, and modern legislation. And if you want to learn more about the charter, if you want to find out how you can implement this charter in your own public service, you can certainly learn more about it by going on to our website at CARICAD, www.caricad.net. All right, so now that you know a little bit more about us, we want to know a little bit about you. Why did you decide to join us this morning? I mean, you could have been doing anything else at work. You could have been having your coffee and your tea. I mean, you can still have your coffee and your tea while you're here, but you could have been doing anything else. Why is this topic so important to you or to your organization? Tell us. Why did you decide to join us today? And you can type your responses in the chat. You can yes. Let's see what are people saying. Why did you join us today? Don't be shy, there must be a reason why you came. Yeah. Why did you join us today? What is so exciting about this topic that you chose to be with us? Giving you a few seconds to think about it. what particularly motivated you? And maybe perhaps what are you hoping to gain from this presentation this morning? Right. D. Maduro says expanded knowledge about AI in education. Yes, we so need to know as much as we can about it. It is something that we are hearing about so much, you know, AI in education. How is this going to impact the way in which we teach? How is it going to impact our learners? Is it going to make things too easy for them? Is it going to be an avenue for them to not do any work and then let AI do all the work? Right? We need to understand this AI thing. Anira says that the Public Service Academy, which is, what she is representing, is is part of the Ministry of the Public Administration, where there's a new thrust to equip public officers with the basic understanding of what AI is and how it can be used in their day-to-day work. Fantastic, right? So that's what I'm saying. You are certainly in the right place. Anne Marie says that AI is impacting so much of what we do as educators, and she really wants to know, and she knows next to nothing, she says, about AI. So she's here but you see, Anne Marie in the right place, because I can assure you that by the time this presentation is finished, you will not be saying that you know next to nothing about AI. All right. So thank you for sharing that this morning, everyone. Anthony says that AI is the future. Sandra says, as an education officer working with principals and teachers. Wait, Sandra is in Antigua. What the joke is this? Yes, I see. What she wants to have more knowledge about AI. So yes, all fantastically good reasons for being here today. All right, so we are going to get into the meat of the matter and present to you our fantastic speaker for today. And it's certainly my pleasure to introduce her to you, Dr. Shani Grace Robinson Ritzdorf. A mouthful. Can we call you Dr. Shani? Yes, then we can call her Dr. Shani. Dr. Robinson Ritzdorf is an educator, an instructional leader and researcher with more than 23 years experience in elementary education, special education, and in educational leadership. She holds a Doctor of Education in Educational Leadership with a specialization in curriculum and instruction. And guess what? She was recognized with the 2025 Dissertation of the Year Award. Yes. So, we have good stock chatting with us this morning. So thank you. Her expertise includes curriculum design, literacy, inclusive education. I love that. Inclusive education, artificial intelligence or AI in education, and professional learning. Dr. Robinson Ritzdorf is the author of the article Reimagining Instructional Planning, Balancing Real-Life Experiences with AI Instantaneity. Oh, wow, that's a big word. Yes. And she is absolutely passionate about creating inclusive classrooms, something that we all could agree with, creating inclusive classrooms where every single learner can thrive. She is committed to empowering educators to use evidence-based practices and emerging technologies to enhance training, learning, and student success. Dr. Shani, thank you so much for joining us today and for your willingness to share your knowledge and your expertise with us. All right, so I'm going to stop sharing my screen and stop talking too, and allow Dr. Shani to share with us this morning. Okay, so just give us 2 seconds and she would put up her presentation. Yes, and we can see it. You're cooking with gas. Lovely. Go ahead. Dr.
Hello,
Shaki.
everyone. Hello, everyone. Thank you for that kind introduction, Dr. Christopher. And yes, you can call me Dr. Shani. Just a little background about me. I'm a Jamaican living in the United States of America in New Mexico. So this topic is as relevant here as it is everywhere education is being taught. Thank you for this wonderful time to be here with you. Education is already changing, not in the distant future, but in our everyday practice. As AI becomes part of the learning landscape, the question is no longer whether we use it, but how we use it thoroughly and thoughtfully to support teaching, learning, and student growth. I'm grateful for the opportunity to be invited to share in this conversation with you today. Beyond the horizon, everyday AI strategies for modern educators. And I'll try to weave a little with our everyday practice that is not necessarily with teaching and learning, but things that educators do in general that could also include the use of AI. This presentation will explore how generative AI works and its limitations, while shifting the focus from detection to thoughtful instructional design and meaningful assessment in the AI era. It will also highlight the importance of open conversations with students, staff, teachers, even parents, clear AI guidelines, and also responsible use of AI to support teaching. Overall, the session, I hope, will emphasize a human-centered approach to AI, adopting the strengths and rather than thinking that we need to replace our teaching with AI. We want to understand how we can use it effectively in teaching and learning. Let's understand what generative AI is. And I'll ask a polling question for the audience. And I think someone actually shared their concerns or understanding of AI. Someone I heard saying that they have no idea what AI is. So, but I'm going to ask, what best describes your current view of generative AI in education? Are you cautious? Are you mostly concerned? Somewhat cautious? You're neutral? You're exploring the idea a little bit? You're very optimistic? Or you're just fully supportive of just using AI? And you can use your own description in the chat box. Type what your concern is or what is your best way to describe your view of generative AI in education. And I'll ask Dr. Christopher to tell me what your answers are in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Go ahead and type.
I'm seeing cautious,
Mm,
curious, but very hopeful. Yes,
yes.
somebody wants to know how they can use it more productively. Somebody says enthusiastic, as I view
Mm,
it as a productive tool. Somebody else says, I'm fully supportive of using AI in education with proper governance and training,
of
right?
course, yes.
Yes. Somebody says, and they want to have increased knowledge of AI. Somebody says their word is excited. Denise says, I use it all the time. So,
Mm.
right? Sean says, I love it. It's the best thing since sliced bread. Sean, I am right there with you on that one.
Yes.
Like another human readily available at my fingertips. I love
Yes,
it.
yes.
Yes, yes. So those are
Thank
some of
you.
the comments.
Thank
Cautious,
you.
but aware that there must be guardrails.
Yes,
Mhm.
yes. Thank you so much,
Yes, thank
Dr.
you,
Christopher.
Jennifer.
And indeed, all those responses reflect what is happening with every teacher out there, whether in the US, in the Caribbean, and everywhere. Some people are just very cautious. Some are just depending on their own knowledge, which is fine. But we are going to look into how we can make it a bit more efficient and balance that understanding of using AI. And also, yes, guardrails are important. And while this session is not a detailed use of AI per se, it will give you a wide understanding of AI in the classroom. So another session perhaps could be arranged where I literally teach some of those online who want to know how we can literally use the tools that will be mentioned later on in the presentation. So how generative AI works and its limits. Generative AI creates new content by identifying patterns in large amounts of data and predicting the most likely response to a prompt. So it basically depends on the information that is out there on the World Wide Web that's available within the specific app or AI tool that is chosen. They are useful, yes, for drafting and rephrasing text, which can help educators and students refine the clarity, the tone, and the structure of an assignment. AI can also assist with summarizing concepts or things that are complex materials, making dense content more accessible, easier to understand, easier to review. In addition, these tools are valuable for brainstorming ideas. Sometimes we are stuck as instructors, as educators. We are used to topics last year, and we are not net reading enough, perhaps, to gather topics for the new students that are coming in. So we can get new ideas, we can brainstorm and marry what we had in the past with the ones that we are going to learn in the present and ones for the future. Whether we are developing lesson plans, discussing prompts and topics in the classroom or student activities, and I dare say when we are planning those school leaving activities, those field trips, when we are planning the presentation of speaker, we can use AI. There are so many ways and means of using it with education, and I'll delve a little bit more in that later on. AI can help explain concepts in different ways. One of my passions, as Dr. Christopher mentioned, is inclusive teaching, inclusive education. We can put a student's community inside AI, not necessarily the student's name, of course, and we can get a math concept to marry and to match perfectly with that student's community and experiences. And that to me will take in the student's culture, home culture, make that connection and relatable teaching with the student. AI can offer that alternative wording or simplify explanations. Yes, those algebra concepts, those concepts of thesis or dissertation topics, we can get them simplified. How to align our topics, how to align our learning. We can make them so simplified in AI to meet those diverse learners that we have in our classrooms. AI can also generate examples, which is especially useful when illustrating abstract ideas and provide that additional practice opportunities for students. Yes, we can get AI to put pictures on a content page when you're about to teach and you want something to be more explicit. We can have drawings, we can have illustrations. We can use students' love for Minecraft, yes, and say put an image of this character here or there, and somehow the student will be able to grasp the content that is taught. Understanding how AI works, the generative one, because there's a reactive one that we all have, and we go on YouTube and it predicts what we are about to watch next. AI also helps educators use it effectively, but we gotta have to recognize its limitations. So here are some limitations, and I'm assuming that we have met these as we have explored different websites using AI. Sometimes the information we see is not truthful, it's not factual. The references that are there, the statistics that are used, even the quotations appear to be convincing, but they do not exist. It doesn't have any knowledge of our specific students for sure. It doesn't have a specific knowledge of the curriculum. Again, it's based on what data is already provided out there in the World Wide Web. It may not know your school policies unless that's presented on the World Wide Web. It may not have the classroom context. Your classroom is in a village. Your classroom is in the upscale area, in the urban area where students have access to internet and computers. But it is important that we provide the information explicitly to the AI product that we're using so that we can get what we put in. Because some AI generated information cannot be verified, educators should always do what? Fact check the outputs and rely on trusted sources before using them in teaching or decision making. The key takeaway is that AI is a helpful assistant, not an authoritative source. And human judgment must, and I repeat, human judgment must always remain central. So the teachers, you should remain critical in your review of the data that you get from AI. Your problem solving, does this make sense? Is this relatable? Is this reflective of my culture? Is this reflective of my country? My principles, and then you taper it from there to make sure it aligns with your practices. Generative AI is trained on large collections of data. As I've said before, the World Wide Web, what is available out there, and it's created by people. It's not just a machine operating on its own. It's information that has been programmed in for the tool to access. So it will reflect both the strengths and the weaknesses of that data. Because the training data contains human biases and stereotypes, AI can unintentionally reproduce or even amplify them in its responses. This means that the information that is generated may be skewed, incomplete, or unfair to certain individuals or groups. Privacy is another important conversation to have when we are discussing AI, and we have to consider it. Information entered into some AI tools may be stored. It doesn't go away when we log off the screen or when we switch to the next slide or switch to the next website. No, sometimes it stays there, and the generators or the creators of the AI tool will use it to model future innovations, depending on the platform and its settings. As educators, we should never enter personally identifiable student or staff or parent information into public AI tools. This helps protect everyone's privacy, student privacy, and supports compliance with laws such as the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act, the FERPA law. The best practice is to use AI responsibly, protect privacy, review outputs critically for bias and accuracy, and remember that human judgment remains essential. I'm going to ask anyone to unmute at this moment and share what have you taken away so far from what I've presented in just one sentence or a quick phrase, what you have learned so far from AI, especially those who had no idea coming into this training.
If you want to participate, you would need to raise your hand so that Roger can see and he can unmute you. I'm not seeing any hands as yet, but I just want to say the impression that I am getting thus far is that we are still as the humans in this scene, we are still in control um of what we can get out of AI. I don't know if that makes sense. Um,
Definitely.
yeah, it's you get out of it what you look for, what you ask for, how you ask for it, I guess. Um,
Yes.
yeah, I'm
Thank
not
you so
seeing any.
much. Alyssa
I'm not
has her
seeing
hand raised. Alyssa Wickham.
Alistair Wickham. Hmm. Roger, can you unmute? Alistair, try to unmute and see if it works.
Hello, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes, I can.
Okay,
Thank
hi,
you.
good morning. I just wanted to say that so far I've learned that AI is a tool that we should use to assist us, and we should not solely depend on it for information because the information that's given to AI is off the web, and realistically, anything can be given on the web. So we have to be really careful in terms of what information we take from AI. And if we do take, then we should just fact check it just to make sure. But it is a useful tool.
Wonderfully said, Alyssa. You deserve A plus for listening, and I'm sure others out there are listening, but well done in summarizing the information. Thank you so much.
Someone says that AI is meant to be a co-pilot, not, hold on, let me just read it properly. I lost it a little while ago. Um, just a second. I like the comments. AI is meant to be a co-pilot, not an autopilot.
Yes,
Thank you,
that's a
Brenda.
nice coin.
Yes.
Very true, very true.
Mhm.
So we're going to look at AI transparency now. At times we use AI, but we don't want anyone to know because sometimes the information is that good or it represents us in the correct tone and the correct clarity and content that we want to show off. I did it. So here's a question for the audience, and you can type it in the chat quickly. And this one is just simply Y for yes and N for no. Should teachers and students disclose when and how they use generative AI in teaching, learning, or assessment? Write Y for yes in the chat or N for no. I'm going to ask a question again. Should teachers and students disclose, share, tell in whatever form when and how they use generative AI in teaching, learning, or assessment? And Dr. Christopher
Mm.
will tell me how many
Well,
yeses by estimation.
I am not seeing any no's yet. All I'm saying is why? Yeah, why? As it is the ethical thing to do. Hyacinth, good morning,
Yes,
Hyacinth. Thank you for joining us. Yes, everybody's saying yes. They should disclose it when they're using it. Everybody's saying yes. Yeah.
perfect. Wonderful answers. Everyone deserves an A plus here. Yes. Transparency is key to ensuring that people understand that our voice separate from what the AI provided. So as generative AI becomes a routine part of education, transparency about its use is critical. Let's look at the graph here, and I'll read for you because it might not be as visible for everyone. Already, 63% of students or teachers teaching students in kindergarten to 12, and this is across the board, and 49% of those in higher education, instructors from that capacity, and 67% of college students use AI, believe it or not, to enhance teaching, learning, and understanding. With 86% of educational organizations reporting that AI adoption and strong agreement that AI literacy should be embedded in higher education. 92% of instructors and 83% of students believe it should be transparently communicated about when and how AI is used to critically examine or establish the difference and also maintain that trust, that academic integrity. I heard Dr. Christopher mentioning that ethical responsibility, and of course, informing the best learning practices. So from this chart, we realize it's used more than 50% in almost all settings. So how do we make sure that we can detect when AI is being used? How do we tell if a resource was created with AI? And I'll answer this one instead of letting you poll for this one. Sometimes we can look at a printed document and see excessively bolded words, bolded phrases, excessive use of quotation marks or the dash or the hyphen. Sometimes we can see a lot of overuse of punctuation marks. The information looks or sounds a bit general and not specific to the question that was asked. Sometimes it is a little bit too wide. Sometimes the information is just filled with references that are not relatable. So references to a US culture versus Caribbean culture. Sometimes it's just not producing sufficient information that is needed. But it's not always easy to tell because you can go over the document and you can remove the bolded words, you can remove the quotations. So let us make sure that when we're detecting it, we understand that it's not going to be easy. It's not all the time that a student who, you know your students, and that student would not have provided that rich essay with that rich information. But to claim it is AI, that can be a false accusation. So let's look into moving from detection to the design, looking at the actual work. And here we'll find more of our teaching involved in this. AI detection tools are not fully reliable, as we discussed earlier, and can incorrectly identify authentic student work as AI generated. Research has shown that essays written by multilingual learners, and I'm talking about those from different languages in the Caribbean and different English proficiency, students with disabilities, and non-native English speakers are more likely to be falsely flagged, raising concerns about fairness and equity. And remember, I'm a passionate educator for inclusivity. So why can't someone who is coming from a French speaking Caribbean country, why can't that person produce a very fluent English essay? You know, we need to make sure we are not falsely accusing them. False positives can damage trust, discourage students, and lead to unnecessary disputes over academic integrity. When educators spend too much time policing AI use, it can shift attention away from what matters most, which is the teaching, the learning, and providing meaningful feedback. A classroom culture built on trust encourages students to engage honestly and seek help when needed rather than feeling they are under constant suspicion. Instead of relying solely on AI detectors, because there are tools out there that you can, if a student sends something electronically, turn it in for some higher education institutions. When they send their assignments through Turnitin, it can flag it. And we need to not rely on that solely, but have that conversation with the student. You know, ask them, how did this essay feel, or was it to you when you were writing the essay? What were the steps? What was the draft you used? How did you edit to get more understanding of, the effort the student made in the assignment? Instead of relying solely on AI detectors, design the assignments that require students to demonstrate their thinking, learning process, and their personal understanding. The goal is not simply to catch AI use, but to protect the integrity and authenticity of students and staff while they keep the learner at the center of the instruction. One of the best ways to promote that responsible AI use, that transparency, is to make disclosure normal, low stakes part of the learning process. Encourage students and staff to be transparent by briefly explaining if and how they used an AI tool. For example, for brainstorming, did they use it to outline a lesson? Did they use it to edit the content? Did they use it to improve the tone, the grammar, the readability of the passage, or even the explanations for the math concepts, for the science concepts? How did they use it? Provide those clear expectations for acknowledging AI use, whether through a citation, a brief statement, or another approach that aligns with your institution's policy, the policy that your institution created. When expectations are clear, students are more likely to be honest rather than feeling they need to hide their use of AI. The goal is not to punish students for using AI appropriately, but to help them develop integrity, accountability, and responsible digital literacy. By normalizing transparency, we shift the conversation from did you use AI to how did you use it to support your learning or your teaching or your understanding of the concept. This leads us to AI policy creation. And this question is just for anyone to answer in the chat. If you were creating an AI policy today, we have discussed transparency, we have discussed accountability, we have discussed about the human connection to the AI product. Now, what is the one guideline you believe every educator and student should follow? Another question you could answer or think about, does your school, your organization, your institution currently have a formal AI policy for educators and students? So anyone can answer. I'm going to ask the questions again. One, if you were creating an AI policy today, what is one guideline you believe every educator and student should follow? And then we'll take the other one with yes or no if your school has an AI policy readily available for educators and students. Anyone typing in the chat, Dr. Christopher?
Someone says, no, my school does not have an AI policy currently. Number one, the AI is no, in terms of what she would put into
Guideline?
that policy, that AI is a guide,
Very
right?
good.
AI is a
Yes.
guide.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Creating an AI policy indeed helps educational institutions use artificial intelligence responsibly, consistently, and ethically while maximizing its educational benefits and minimizing the risks. It promotes academic integrity. It protects students' privacy and teachers' knowledge, teachers' job, teachers' efficiency. It encourages ethical AI use. It provides consistency across classrooms, across school levels. It supports high quality teaching, believe it or not. It prepares students for the workforce. The workforce is being inundated with AI all across different avenues. Of course, mostly in technology, but it's spreading wide and far now because they want students to come into the schools being AI literate. It reduces institutional risks when we set those clear guidelines, and it supports inclusive education and it guides professional development. The individual who said there's no AI policy in the school yet, you can now lead your team into training using this presentation or your own on how to create AI policies and making sure they're efficient. Yes, that can be a conversation to have. Here are some, here's another chart to show the prevalence of these policies and what we can do. In just 2 years, educational institutions worldwide have moved rapidly from experimenting with AI to developing institutional policies and guidance. While sometimes administration takes a bit longer, parents, students are using AI quickly and getting with it. And some admin would, put their ideas together. And because of that, we are kind of being reactive. So we're seeing products or written products or completed products that students have created, and we're like, oh no, we need to stop this. And then we're coming at the back end trying to curb what should have been done, proactively. In UNESCO's 2023 survey, which you're seeing there, fewer than 10% of schools and universities had formed guidance on generative AI. So it's not unusual to hear that a school hasn't had a policy created as yet. By 2025, last year, approximately 61% of higher education institutions surveyed had either adopted AI guidance or were actively developing it. And that's a big jump, over 50% just within 2 years in getting the guidelines created quickly. This demonstrates that AI is no longer an emerging trend, it is becoming part of educational governance and institutional strategy. AI can improve access, equity, and quality of education. The Caribbean and Latin America face common challenges, however. We can argue that we don't have enough digital infrastructure. There's internet snail pace in some communities. Some schools may not have internet. Some schools might not even have training on literacy in AI or professional development at all. Nothing of that sort. There is the lack of focus on data privacy and the ethics that is needed within AI in some Caribbean areas, as well as other countries and continents. the equitable access to computers, to electronics, to technology, to AI in itself is a bit sparse across rural territories and underserved communities. And in my research for this presentation, I have not yet seen a fully or completed national an institutional AI policy as yet. The Ministry of Education in respective countries are still toying with the idea of what to present to the masses of educators out there. So what I'm seeing is that single institutions, most times the higher education institutions, are now creating their own policies. And I think it would be fair to say that the elementary schools, the primary schools, the high schools can also follow suit. I looked at the CXC. CXC does have its AI fact sheet, and I was happy to see that because I remember my days back in St. Jago High School when I did CXC, and there were some troubling topics that I could not relate to. I now appreciate simple budgeting, but I couldn't get accounting at all back then. And if a technology such as AI simplified things to the way I understood it, perhaps I could have mastered that subject. But within the CXC AI guide, it provides clear guidance on the responsible and ethical use of artificial intelligence in teaching, learning, and assessment across Caribbean secondary education, helping students, teachers, and institutions understand acceptable use, academic integrity, expectations, and assessment boundaries in an AI-supported learning environment. At present, and this is because I'm a Jamaican, so I looked at the Jamaican primary exit profile. They do not have a publicly available examination specific AI policy governing the use of AI in assessment context. However, the Ministry of Education in Jamaica is actively exploring, as I said before, they're just in the stage of getting the idea together and integrating that in AI, but looking at the teaching and administrative systems with a continued emphasis on protecting the integrity of the national examinations, of course, and student assessment process. So, for what I've understood, there's no AI use for the PEP exams, and I would imagine for a lot of assessments across the board. Regionally, in UNESCO 2024 Caribbean Artificial Intelligence Policy Roadmap, there's a roadmap out there, provides an important foundation for guiding how Caribbean education systems can approach AI adoption in a structured and ethical way. At the CARICOM level, there is currently no unified regional AI policy for schools, and I would imagine that we are all unique in our cultures, but individual countries are developing their own approaches at different stages of readiness. This creates an opportunity and a challenge because while there is space for innovation, there's also a need for clear, consistent guidance to ensure fairness, equity, and assessment integrity across systems. For educators, this highlights the importance of staying informed, applying ethical judgment, and aligning classroom practices with both national expectations and emerging regional framework. So there's an understanding that we perhaps have to start with our own home, our own school, and make the policies there because the nationally is perhaps not yet available. We should create the clear guidelines. Effective AI policies begin by clearly stating what students are expected to disclose when AI tools are used in their work. It is equally important to define what counts as violation. For example, submitting AI-generated work as entirely one's own when it is not permitted. Policies should be written in plain, accessible language so that students, families, and educators can easily understand and apply them. If a policy is too complex or technical, it becomes difficult to enforce consistently and fairly across classrooms. Clear definitions help remove confusion and reduce unintentional misuse of AI. And I say unintentional because people don't go on AI deliberately to confuse people and give them wrong information. No, we do it because we have lack of time and we want to get something done quickly and we forget to go back and check and, accidentally misinformation is passed on to students. So policies should also include clear levels of use. For example, tasks where AI use is not permitted at all, tasks where limited assistance is allowed, and that is included in the CXC AI fact sheet, and tasks where AI can be used openly with disclosure. This level based approach helps students understand boundaries and teachers too, while still allowing space for responsible and purposeful use of AI. Overall, clarity and transparency are key to ensuring fairness, consistency, and academic integrity. So when developing or using AI in education, it's essential to first align the practices with existing institutional, district, and country or state level policies. And where those are lacking, if there's no national policy, this is where your team, your district, your administrators, your teachers come together and create that one that is specific for your school setting. And also regionally, team up with other teachers from other schools nearby. These policies provide the legal, ethical, and instructional boundaries that guide how AI should be used responsibly in teaching, learning, and assessment. Because AI governance is still evolving, guidance may vary across countries, educational departments, and institutions, making it important for educators to stay informed and regularly review updates. Yes, keep up with technology and use that knowledge to impact how you use technology in the classroom because consistency matters. AI expectations should not change from classroom to classroom or platform to platform, as this creates confusion for students and weakens policy implementation. Recent trends in education policy show that there is an effort to develop formal AI frameworks to ensure safe, fair, and consistent use across systems. Aligning policies across platforms ensures that whether students are using AI in assignments, assessments, or learning activities, expectations for integrity, privacy, and transparency remain the same. Ultimately, alignment supports fairness, protects student data, and helps create a coherent approach to AI use across the entire educational system. As I was presenting, I now notice that the recurring theme is integrity, privacy, transparency, and of course, ethics. So we have to use those as our foundation. Now, believe it or not, as much as we embrace AI and we're still in, the embryonic stage, some of us don't know at all, but now we're learning. There are already some legal cases out there against the use of AI. Let's hear about this one. And I couldn't find any in the Caribbean. For whatever reason, we don't like to sue a lot in education, but it does happen and it might happen in the future. So listen to these ones from Hingham High School, which was considered one of the first major AI education lawsuits. A history teacher alleged that a student improperly used generative AI. The student was disciplined. The grade was reduced. The student got a detention and he was removed from the National Honor Society for consideration. Now, the National Honor Society is a student organization that recognizes secondary and tertiary level students who demonstrate strong academic achievement, leadership, service to their school community, and, good character. I was one such recipient. And there's a little prestige that comes with it when you're named a National Honor Society individual. So I can imagine how the student felt. The student's parents sued the school, arguing that there was no clear AI policy at the time and that the punishment was unfair. Parents have to have the backs of their children. A federal magistrate judge ruled, however, in favor of the high school, finding that the school acted reasonably under its academic integrity and plagiarism policies. The court refused to order the school to change the student's grade or remove the disciplinary record, effectively upholding the school's decision. So, what saved the school is the policies, the academic integrity, the transparency, having those open conversations, repeatedly repeatedly sharing with the students, this is what we are accepting, this is what we are not accepting as your work. And that saved the school. But listen to Adelphi in New York. One of the most widely cited ones was this case involving AI detection, and I spoke to that earlier in higher education. And this was between Orion Newby, so you can research that, and Adelphi University in Nassau County Supreme Court. This student was accused of using AI to write a history essay. And I'm seeing the theme here because um, I would say word-based or heavy word structured assessments or assignments in history, social studies tend to cause students to want to use AI more, but it can happen in any subject. But listen to this one. This student sent in the assignment through Turnitin, which is I think is an app in Blackboard or Canvas that tests how much uniqueness or originality is within an assignment. The AI detector flagged the submission as 100% AI generated. The university imposed academic sanctions immediately based on that result. The student appealed to the court, arguing that the finding was unreliable and that other evidence supported the student's work. The court ruled this time in the favor of the student, finding the university's plagiarism determination without valid basis and devoid of reason. So the judge ordered the university to remove the plagiarism finding from the student's record and overturn the sanctions. Again, if you refer to the previous slides on detection, moving from detection to design, what could have saved the school is if they had had a conversation with the student. How did he do the assignment? So, the drafting stage, the editing stage, where did he get the resources from? Having those open conversations could have saved the school from this embarrassment. So just understanding that there are several courts and tribunal cases out there, and bury that with your understanding that AI can produce false positives. The detectors can produce false positives. Academic decisions must require human judgment. Students should receive due process before imposing sanctions, not immediately accusing them of cheating, which we should not, but investigating before we assume that AI is the one producing their work. AI
Shani?
detection tools. Yes, hello?
Hi. Sorry to, this is all so amazing. Just giving you a little time check. We are, getting closer to our 11 o'clock hour. And I
Yes.
know we could all sit here for the entire day listening to you, but we have to begin to our wrap up. So I'm just asking those who may have questions for Dr. Shani to have them ready so that we can go through it very quickly and wrap up by 11, 11 or so. Thank you. Go ahead.
Yes. And because of that, I will go a little bit faster through these next slides. We already mentioned to have those clear communication, and they should happen early, not after a suspected infraction has occurred. We should revisit the AI expectations regularly throughout the course, not only at the beginning of our course in math or science or social studies, but throughout the course, reminding the students of that academic integrity. And the goal is to treat AI as a normal part of learning. It's not something new that you're accusing anyone of. It's something that we're going to use with responsibility and with accountability. So AI for responsible teaching. Here is where I think everyone will love this section. Of course, for lesson planning, we can use it for creating those quizzes, those worksheets, those practice questions. And again, as I shared earlier, we can use the students' background, their community on the background to create that additional worksheet that they can work on their own at home. We can turn our content into a pictorial content. even turning it into a comic strip for students to go home and read that and use. We can generate those practice questions. For those teachers who have extra lessons, instead of teaching them from the same textbook that you have at school, simplify the content. Let it be friendly, let it be in a story form. You can ask AI to do that. Now, I must tell you, it will be different if you put into AI, create a practice activity for math in fourth grade. But if you say to AI, create this math activity for a fourth grade student using this topic on geometry, using this background or this real life experience, making the prompt more specific, you'll gather more tailored results. All right. And evidently, we need to move forward with understanding that AI is adaptable, but our human judgment is more essential. As I've shared earlier, we can use AI to outline our assignments or lessons, summarize those dense topics, add pictures to it, add graphics, add, a little comic strip, a little humor, a little joke, a little real life experience to make the lesson more authentic and accessible to students. As you read through this slide, I'm just going to summarize here. Improving engagement is a part of learning. AI doesn't give that engagement, but it offers the opportunity to use the material effectively in a simplified way. But we should also ask the students some questions. Ask them to show their reasoning, their explanations. Ask them to show you the draft that they did with their essays. How did they edit? How can they justify their reasoning? How can we help them to think about their thinking? Make sure your assessments and assignments are meaningful. Tie the assignments to their current discussion in the classroom. As I said before, if the information that you receive from the student is too vague, ask them to go back to what was discussed in the science lab or in the experiment. Encourage specific answer and unique thinking. Celebrate students who think uniquely and differently, as well as those who think more generally as well. But help them to use a mix of evidence in their presentation of their work, how they are applying their learning. Avoid entering students' information. Remove names as you are putting in your prompts, encouraging students to make sure that you are able to connect with the information that is provided. Make sure that we're using AI that are approved by the institution. So we can use a chat GPT or the Copilot, but are these the ones that your principals or administrators approve of? How can we use them effectively and efficiently? Make sure we're not putting in information because they can be stored for long-term use, but make sure that they are not exposing private information. Human-centered AI adoption. We want to ensure that we are focused on building the data sets that contain truthful information that are void of historical or societal biases. We don't want students to get information that um, reinforces a bad narrative. Again, ultimately, human judgment, professional expertise, and contextual understanding must remain central in all decision making. I'm going to jump to the educational resources. Now, these are ones that I've used in the past. CuriPod, they're especially tailored for education, EduAid, Gemini, and OpenAI, which is ChatGPT. But again, you got to make your information specific. We can use these to save time, to get practical information on learning. Helps the educators provide engaging lessons, not the tutorial, instructional, dictative type, but something that involves and evokes question and participation, and use these real tools to create formative assessments. You can use these tools, as I said before, to create a speaker notes for inviting someone to your sessions, to your graduation activities, to those fun times when we plan our teacher day events. You can use AI to create those invitations to plan the entire event because sometimes teachers multitask. So not only for academic purposes, but you can use these for those other added on activities and jobs that teachers always find ourselves in. Those walkathons, those marathons, those sport activities, you can use these to create those specific event planners for students and parents as well. Remember, we are going to ensure that whatever we create is engaging, meaningful, reinforces the key concepts. So align your research with the curriculum at hand. And I've seen available Caribbean-based curriculum using through AI. But beyond that planning, beyond that assessment, remember that AI should strengthen your instruction by supporting the writing, the research, your delivery to students, emphasizing that critical thinking task, helping both the teachers and students deepen their learning outcomes. And that takes us to the end of the presentation. I hope I gave as much as a wide overview of AI and how we should start creating those policies and ensuring that we have transparency, academic integrity, and ethics embedded in our instruction with students. Rather than focusing on detecting AI use, the emphasis should shift from thoughtful or shift toward thoughtful assessment design, creating those meaningful tasks, those authentic tasks, and requiring students to demonstrate their understanding, reasoning, and application. In this context, assessment should be intentionally designed for the AI era, where students are expected to think critically, justify their decisions, and engage in real world problem solving. Thank you so much for listening. There are the references that are already attached to the slide. You can click on any one of them or research more for information.
Wow. Thank you so, so much. Wow, my goodness, Dr. Shani. Shani, could you stop sharing? And then I can resume. Yeah, I think I can. Yes. Yeah, then I can resume. Wow. Oh my goodness. Let's see. Hold 1 second for me. All right. Yes. So after that wonderful, wonderful, I mean, I was there writing and my hands were there falling off because there was so much in this presentation. As I said, we could spend a whole week talking about this, but I just want to thank Dr. Shani for her presentation, for sharing this knowledge with us. I'm gonna take. I don't. I'm see if I can pull up the chat. But does anyone have a burning question for Dr. Shani that or comment that you want to make at this point? Let's see. Okay, I'm just checking the chat to see if um if there are any. Yeah, excellent presentation. Definitely. Excellent presentation. Good session, timely information. Eye-opening. Thank you so much. No, I'm not seeing any specific questions, but I do want to say that one of the one of the themes that keep recurring is the whole importance of openness, of integrity, of being transparent in the use of AI in education. I think one of our concerns was, it's like almost like you want to keep it a secret because you're cheating, but if we use it in a responsible way, I think that reduces it. I saw a hand up. Who was it? It was
Dr. Akoji.
Koji. Yes, please unmute yourself and ask your question or make your comment.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed this presentation. It was a great presentation. Thank you, Dr. Robinson Risroff. Thank you so much. There were just so many areas you touched. I particularly like the areas where the schools or the counties or the school districts, they don't have, when they don't have a legal, they don't have a policy, they are opening themselves for legal reactions. Most developing countries may not think about this right now, but it's something that we need to be thinking about. And I'm glad you touched on that. And I just wanted to say I really enjoyed the presentation, and it was an eye-opening for me at least. So thank you so much.
You're welcome, Dr. Koji. And for those who don't know, Dr. Koji is my dissertation chair back then at University of Phoenix, a wonderful support and motivational, inspirational person in my life. So thank you for joining, Dr. Koji, and thanks for your compliment.
You're welcome.
Thank you. And just to as we wrap up, just to say, and I hope I'm putting you on the spot, Dr. Shani, but I am sure that Dr. Shani, can make herself available for if you're in a particular individual countries or institutions would like to hear more about this, actually plan workshops or seminars or whatever that are around these very important issues. I am sure that you can contact her. We will certainly provide you with her contact information so that you can reach out to her even after this presentation, right? Once you have registered for the presentation, for this webinar, sorry, the Dr. Shani's presentation would be made available to you, and as well as her contact information. All right. But just so that you know as well, for CARICAD in particular, we are always looking for professionals like yourself across the region to contribute articles to CARICAD's quarterly newsletter. If you have a particular subject area that you want to share your knowledge with, share with all of your colleagues across the region, this is an opportunity for you. There is CARICAD's Digital Explainer series, which you can also pick up on our website. All the recordings for all of our for the Digital Explainer series, as well as all these webinars, you can go back and you can play them again and again, listen to them, so that you can listen to it at your own pace and pick up all that fantastic information that is always provided in our webinars. As it says here, there's our social media contact information. Please feel free to make contact with us. Dr. Shani, I don't know if you want,
there are two people they have their hands up. I think it's Dr. Penn and one other. I wanted to hear from them. Yes.
Sure, no problem. Dr. Penn, go right ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. I think it was an excellent presentation, timely, worthwhile. As you're talking, though, about the importance of having policies in place, I think that we need to be mindful as well how we write the policies, because I think sometimes we write the policies in a way in which it's very scary and it creates a fear for the students. So I think that we really need to take that into consideration, because the tone of the presentation and the tone that AI is presenting as a helper, the tone of the policy needs to match that level. And I think that if we pay attention to the tone, then we wouldn't have to worry about students in terms of with the academic integrity, because the tone can still scare them from still doing what is proper. So I just wanted to make that important point.
That's very reasonable, Dr. Penn. So having that balance of tone in our policies is essential. The clarity of our policies should be there, but not discouraging students' use, but encouraging responsible use of AI. Thank you for that, Dr. Penn.
Denise, you can unmute.
Good morning. Good morning, Dr. Shani. Great presentation. I just want to say how timely and relevant this presentation is. As a Jamaican educator who has been learning a lot about AI, I think we have a lot more to learn. Our students have a long way to go as it relates to AI. For example, the responsible use, because we do have a problem with that in the education system where students are just learning about AI and they really need to embrace digital citizenship. So I do think this is a really awesome presentation and it really will help us as educators. Thank you very much.
Thank
You're
you.
very welcome, Dr. Bernard. Thank you so much.
All right. All right. So, Dr. Shani, I'm just going to give you 30 seconds to to make one last pitch, one last, your final parting words to those of us that participated this morning.
Yes, embrace AI as something not to be feared, but something to understand that humans created it. And by right, humans, we have the capacity, the mental wherewithal, the cultural background, the knowledge, the problem-solving skills, the critical thinking skills. We all have that already. Now we use those to deduce, to analyze, to criticize, to dissect the AI information before we implement it in the schools. Set those AI policies, communicate with students, parents, teachers about them, and ensure that when we're using them, we focus on the accountability, the integrity, and fully amplifying our teaching capacity rather than reducing our efforts with students.
Thank you so, so much, everybody. Thank you so much, Dr. Shani. And just as we end, you only have one more thing to do for us here this morning. Roger has already posted the poll. We always have a poll so that you can provide us with feedback as to what you thought of the presentation this morning, what you thought, how was this experience, this learning experience for you? He has posted it in the chat. Roger, if you can, you could probably post it again, because I think several persons would have asked questions and made comments after that. But don't leave until you have, it's a short poll, just takes a minute or so to do. Just let us know what you thought of it and of today's presentation. And while you are doing that, just to let you know, you can look out for more wonderful presentations like this from CARICAD, our next online webinar. Our next webinar will be in September. So certainly, if you enjoy this one, I want to encourage you to invite a colleague, invite a friend next time you are registering for one of our webinars. Thank you so much once again. Don't forget to do the poll, but do enjoy the rest of the day and the rest of the week. Make it a lovely, productive one. Thanks again, and we hope to see you back again soon.